So let's try that. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Hello? Testing 1 2. Let's see if I can debug it on this side too. Let's get the audio mixer. Testing 1 2. Okay, so it looks like I'm putting out output. Can you hear me now? There I am. Okay, great. Okay, so hi. Let's start all that over again. My name is Kevin Foreman. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce. Thank you for bearing with our technical difficulties we're having today. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties getting the stream wired together. I don't know what was going on there, and the audio. So let me start the whole pitch again. Here on today's episode of Recruiting for Good, we're going to be working on building out some of our first features. And the first thing we're going to start with is the V2MOM creation tool for creating a job to be filled. Now, if you tuned in last time, you saw that what we did is we built out our data model in our inside Salesforce. If we go to the schema builder, you can see that we created our custom objects and all of that work. So you've got our account and job application, V2Me item, job posting, V2MOM, etc. And so we're going to be working and focusing on, let's see if I can scroll here without clicking on something. We'll be focusing on these objects today. And our story that we wrote with Alistair was that we are going to be doing a tool that is a guided tool. So we want to provide guide rails for people who are filling out these V2MOMs. Now remember, a V2MOM stands for vision, values, methods, obstacles, and measures. And those 5 things help define what success looks like for a role. So rather than writing a job description that says, we want a rock star candidate, blah, 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 and then being upset when everyone who gets hired destroys the hotel room, we're going to be writing, what does success look like for this job in this role? And so we're going to be creating the tool to fill this out. Now, again, I have the chat open. Right, you can't see it. It's right over here on another screen. So if you have questions, comments, snide remarks, feel free to drop them in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Say hello, whatever you've got on your mind. So we're going to start by looking I'm going to go back to the schema builder here. And to build a V2MOM, we're going to have multiple V2MOM components. And we know that because we've got this one-sided to many over here. And we've set that to be a, where is our, so this is linked, our V2MOM is linked to V2MOM component as a lookup, or master detail, I'm sorry. And then we've got methods, measures, and obstacles. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to try and build this from an API first perspective. So if you've never done this kind of work or never thought about it this way, some people, when they sit down to build an application, they sit down and they go, okay, I'm going to sort of draw out what I want it to look like, and then I'll just sort of wire everything in from the user's perspective. Instead of doing that, what I want us to focus on and think through is, how do we write this so that we could go ahead and change out the UI a year from now to something newer, better, faster, stronger, without having to rewrite all the back-end stuff. And so when we look at building out a V2MOM and these V2MOM components, we're going to have to look at individual pieces of each of these things. So a V2MOM is built up and it'll have a values and a vision. And those are things that we want to guide. So if we look at our story here, we want to guide the values and we want to guide limited characters for the vision. Now we want to define this pick from a pre-listed set of V2MOM values. And don't anybody tell Steve-Mo on me, but this sounds like the kind of thing that a multi-select pick list would be good for. Trying to think about whether or not I want to go down that route. Does anybody have opinions on whether or not we should use multi-select pick lists to hold the values here? Because I'm thinking while we've got this as a text area, we could really easily go in and change this to be a multi-select pick list. Some people, Steve-Mo, really hate multi-select pick lists, and I understand their concerns. So I'm not set on that idea. I'd like to hear what other people have to say. Drop a answer in the chat there. But for right now, let's go and make some notes here in our app. And this is our Recruiting for Good app, the source code that's there. I've done virtually no work. We're on main though, and that could be an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do get checkout-b dev, and then since I'm on dev, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do get checkout-b dev slash, and then I'm going to say v2mom wizard. v2mom wizard. Okay. Row. It's telling me that I can't do that because I already have a dev in main. Get checkout dash B, and we'll do v2mom wizard. Get branch. That's not what I wanted. Dev slash v2mom wizard. I can type. Okay, apparently I've forgotten how to do that. Which, anybody surprised? We'll just go to this one. We'll go to v2mom wizard and we'll work there. All right, so v2mom wizard. Now what I can do is I'm just going to take some notes here, and what I'm going to do for my notes, because I want to have everything readily visible to me, I'm going to copy and paste this into my editor here. Configurable but predefined list of values for the v2mom to select from. So options for this, we could do multi-select pick list. Now I haven't heard anything in the chat from people who are saying yay or nay to multi-select pick lists, or we could do custom component that pulls from, say, custom metadata. We can have a custom metadata object, v2mom values, and then the records there can be used to pull. And then we could probably also do the same thing with a what do you call it, custom settings, but I'm not really. So I think about it, we could do something interesting with hierarchical custom settings and allowing people to choose different options based on their role hierarchy. But I think we're going to be super simple. Let's do something nice and devy, but also not terribly complex, and do a custom component that pulls from custom metadata. So to do that, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to go into my org here, and I'm going to pull up custom metadata, and we're going to create a new custom metadata type. That's going to be called v2mom values. v2mom values. Oh, I don't have to have this as an underscore because it's the label. So we'll just get rid of that underscore there. And we're going to do the object name. We can just do that. We'll set the visibility to all code and APIs. Okay. See some familiar names here. I see Ross. Hey Ross, and how's your lip reading doing? And then we've got Bashant and Abhijit. I think I pronounced that right. Good to see everybody there. Now, out of the box for our value field, we have the label, and we're trying to think if we need anything else for that. And I don't think we do. So let's go in here, and just for grins and giggles, I'm going to create some metadata records. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say trust. We'll save that, and then I want to add another one. Back. manage new. Then we'll do what's another good value for hiring. I'm going to go with works well with others. Sort of generic there. Okay, so we've got a couple of custom metadata types. Now, if you're not real familiar with custom metadata types, one of the gotchas is as soon as you go and create them, you should go and pull. So we'll do pull source from default scratch org. We'll see what it gives us back. I don't think it's going to throw any errors. And this will give us some new metadata. So if we go into our custom metadata, you can see now we have our v2mom trust and our works well with others records. So those are the datas. And then if we go to objects, we have v2mom value underscore MDT, which is our metadata type. Now that we've got that there, we can start working with how do we present our component to present that metadata. And I like to do that kind of work by looking at the LWC, not developer guide, the component library. So I'll Google that. And as I look at these component references under the Lightning Web component, we've got things like breadcrumb, or we could do buttons, but that might be a little, let's see here, pills maybe is what it's called, pill and pill container. Let's look at pill, basic pills. And so we've got the ability to click on the remove. So when you click on that, I think that would be, let's do basic, let's do pills with an icon. That could be interesting. An icon for all of our values. I don't know how useful that would be, but that's a way of presenting it. But we also need a way to say we want to capture them. So let's look at a pill container. And let's do pill container shows pills that represent users. Those are avatars. I'm not sure we want that. Let's look at the basic JS here. And we're just going to do the items, which is an, okay, so it's just going to generate those pills automatically. I don't think that's really what we want. Let's see what else we've got. We could do radio select, except radio buttons are one or the other. It's probably not what we want. Yeah, we want to be able to do multiple radios or multiple buttons. That's not an option there. How many items supposed to be selected at once, Ross asks. Well, I mean, it occurs to me that you could have I mean, the Salesforce company, we have 5 or 6 values. And so when you're talking about a particular role, it's probably going to be about the same, right? 5 or 6. That's one of those assumptions that I'm making that we can validate later by talking to our PO. But as I look at this, just trying to see if we've already got something built in, because sort of the classic Salesforce way of doing this in when we do it's the, I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's the dual panes with the little buttons in the middle that lets you highlight something on one side and then move it over. It's like a dual list box component. And so we don't have a list box component. I feel like we've got a dual list box. It's right there. It's just under dual. So this, we sort of get this one for free out of the box, and that seems like a good way to start. So let's create a web component that we can put on a page that will show us a list of our values here under available, and then capture the selected ones for a given record. I think that's what we should do. Let's see, do we have list box with required or minimum selected options? I like this. This gives us some, there we go, look at that. Select options, at least 5 and at most 10, like in this. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this. And then I'm gonna look at min-max here, and you're gonna see that we've got our options, our values, required options, a min-max, connected callback. Well, I'm not entirely certain we need to do that, but what we'll do is we'll start with this. So we're going to be looking at creating an LWC, and we're going to create LWC, Lightning Web Component. Let's call this one v2 values, v2 mom values selection. It failed to create my Lightning Web Component. Let's see why. Name must contain only alphanumeric characters. That's right. We're going to call this one v2 mom. Those are alphanumeric, and then what I'll do is I'll say values picker. Values picker seems right. Let's see, there we go. Now we've created our component, and I'm going to go back into the HTML here, and I'm going to paste this subtemplate in. It turns out I don't need to do that, and so I'll save this. It'll create this. Now let's just fill in our dual lightning list box. Source available is available values. I can type selected values, and we're going to say field level help is here. We're going to select or pick up to 10 values for this role. And options is going to be, we'll look at what that needs to be. Min and max here. Values is values. And I think that's good. We'll save that. Now if we come back over here, we can look at what, like, options is an empty array. I think options is populated with what they select. So it would be option 1, 2, and 3. I think that's probably right. Let's look at the documentation. Label 1, option default options is going to have ones that are defaulted on. And then we can have our input validation for the number of ones that we have going. Component styling, yada, yada, yada. Accessibility. I think. Okay, so this is going to be on. We've got an on change handler we could use. We've got options. There's list options. Our value. Our value is going to contain what they chose. Because that's our, well, default options. Yeah. Okay. So I don't think that's terribly, we're going to do available options, and our values are going to be selected options. And then we will, let's open up the JS here. And just as a recap, we need to get a list of all the value names from the custom metadata. And we need to then have our array. I'm going to drop this over here. No, I'm not. I'm going to drop this over here. And I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so here's our JavaScript on the right. On the left, we have our template, so we can just make them match. And so we will need a an available options. And we'll do equal, and we'll do selected options, because those are the two that we need from our example. We're going to have our default options and that's going to pull into the value here. We've got we don't have to worry about required options. I don't think we need to worry about the handle one. When we look at our example here, we've got getters for the min and max. So let's do a getter. I like to just put comment saying, sort of breaking it up. I get that from Apple where they do a lot of pragma marks. It makes it easier to scan through code and find what you're looking for. So we're going to have get, and we're going to say min, and that is going to, let's see, can I do an arrow function here? No. How do they do it? They're just doing it. Okay. Get rid of that. And we're going to return 1, and then we'll have get max, return 10, save that. Now it occurs to me it's going to be interesting to test this until we start seeing whether or not this is exposed. So let's say true, just for grins and giggles. And our available options we're going to have to populate. So what's the best way to do that? And I think the best way to do that is to just do a wire function. So we're going to do wire. Wire is defined but never used. Okay, that's fine. And then we'll do available options, and I always have to look at the docs for this, so I always go to GitHub and look at LWC recipes. The thing is, I just don't write enough LWC to remember this off the top of my head, which is a shame because I really like LWC. But I'm going to go look at the LWC examples here, and Apex wire to property. That's what I want. We'll look at the method here. We're going to grab the wire, which we did, and then we're going to wire in a particular method. That's fine. And then we're going to call that method and give it a property. So let's look at doing that. We're going to, it's going to be at wire. So we're going to just get the syntax right by copying and pasting that. Okay, and then we're going to come over here. We're going to do new create Apex class. This one's going to be our, should we make this generic? Should we make a class that is a controller that will return a list of metadata values as requested, or should we just hard code it to be the v2 mom values? I'm going to say generic. I like working with generics, so I'm going to say custom metadata WireProvider, and we'll put it in the classes for right now. I reserve the right to move that around. Alright, so we're going to do, don't need a constructor. It's going to be public static, and we're going to do at Aura enabled. Hey, look, it's going to prototype it for me. And this is going to be caching equals true, like that. This method name is going to be fetch list of metadata values, metadata record values, and we're going to pass in string, and this is going to be the custom metadata type, custom MDT type, and then we'll do fields. We'll do string fields. No, that's dangerous. I was going to do string fields and then just pass in like a comma separated list, but there's a lot of room for errors there because of the way SOCL works. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a string array of fields, and then we'll join it together inside our work here. So what we need to do now, we did this. We were looking at this simple Apex wire method to property, but actually let's look at for wire method with params to show how we pass in those parameters. And that's what we actually want to do. We want to pass in and we're going to call this one available options and get rid of this like that. What error do we have? Unexpected token. That's because I don't have find contacts. What I do have is a different controller name, which is custom metadata WireProvider, and our method is fetch list of metadata record values. Okay, and this one's going to be MDT records. We'll do MDT records. And now we've gotten rid of all of our ugly red warnings and errors. Okay, so when I pass this in, I want to pass in custom MDT type. And in this case, I can hard code it because that's per Lightning Web Component controller. So if we look over here at our source list here, we have the v2mom value. So we'll do v2mom value, and then we will send it. This is JSON, so what we're going to do is we're going to say fields, and we're going to pass in label. Do we want label or do we want... Let's look at this. So we're going to get the value name. Let's... Come on, go back. Let's look at our... So we've got label, no custom fields. The value, we're just going to get the label. That's all we need, is the label. Like that. Okay, so that's going to wire this method into place. So when this loads, it's going to call this method, and this method is going to return a list of, or it should return a list of values. Oh no, we failed to push to scratch org. What's going on? Unable to find Apex action method. It's because I haven't saved this yet. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get a hold of we need a query for the custom metadata. So let's do a string query is equal to, I'm going to format it, select, plus, and I'm going to do string dot, I'm going to do labels dot join and then this illegal string literal line breaks are not. It is 2. Fine, I'll do it this way. And then and we're going to do custom MDT type. It auto did that. I don't need to do that. I should. We'll do this. Custom metadata type. Amir is asking, what is custom metadata type? A custom metadata type is a way for you to create metadata on the platform that is custom to your specific instance. So I like to think of them as custom settings on steroids. They're much more useful, in my opinion, as we'll see here. But they do have some trade-offs. There's no hierarchical custom metadata, that sort of thing. The big benefit you get is not in a use case like this, but you can actually have custom metadata with relationship fields to other custom metadata objects, which is super powerful. You can find out more about that in our Apex Recipes sample app. We have an entire custom metadata recipes section, so I want to encourage you to check that out. You can get that. We'll get the GitHub link here in the chat. It's github.com/trailheadapp/apex-recipes, and you can find that there. For right now, we're working with a fairly simple, we just want a list that we can have people put things in that is the limitations. They have to choose from this box, the set of things. So we're going to do the query with a select plus from the custom metadata type. We're not going to put a where clause on that. Do we want a where clause? No, we're just going to do that here. Now there's a couple of things, this labels or this fields group that's not what we want. We want fields. And the problem is a field could theoretically contain something like food or something like that. And so we need to strip single quotes the fields. So we'll do fields. It's actually string dot escape single quotes fields, and we'll do fields equals that. So we'll override it. We are not doing the Ross. We're not doing the __ C. I was debating whether or not I was going to do __ MDT, but I think that is superfluous. So we'll do that there. Legal string literal. Okay, fine. Okay, you happy now? I could probably do that all in one. But I'm going to overwrite fields to be string escape single quotes. And then we're going to say join all those with a semicolon. And then from... Yeah, okay, so I'm going to save that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return... Let's do a for loop, because we want to have an output list of strings. So we'll do string, and we'll do output results is equal to new string. Yeah, this is the problem I have with using. We'll do a list string output results is equal to new list string, and then we're going to do for. Oh, I haven't run the query yet. We'll just do it here. We'll do this is going to be, oh, we have to type this. Type safety for the frustration. Okay, so I want to this is going to give me a database.query query. We also need to add, before I forget, some safety. Let's do things safely with security enforced. And look at that, we have security. Amir is saying, can I please share the Git repo link? You know what? Let me get that dropped in there. I'm asking my my very helpful companions if they will drop in a link. There we go. I just put that in there. I think that'll get dropped in momentarily. So we've got with security enforced. We're going to run the query. We need to save the results of this. And that's going to be a list of let's have some type fun. So let's do a we're going to do type dot new instance. Let's see, I forget how to do this. We're going to do type from string apex. I know this is possible and I've done it before. I just don't remember if I remember the whole thing. So let's look at the guide, and we've got we get a new instance. So let's do this. We're going to do type for name is type T, and then we're going to do, yeah, so we're going to do type T, metadata type is equal to type dot for name. The class name is the string custom metadata type, and then we're going to do let's do a list of metadata type dot get. I wonder if I can just do that. Metadata type. This is going to be results is equal to database dot query. I think that should probably work because I don't need a new instance of my metadata type. So I'm going to get the type, and then I'm going to instantiate a list of that, and I'm going to then, here's where I'm going to need that. I'm going to have to do for metadata type result in results. Let's see if that works. Not super confident that I did that right, but we're going to find out. And then I'm going to do output results, add result dot label, like that. Okay, so the output of this for loop will hopefully be a array of strings that we have. Just, you know, it should contain two things now. And then we'll throw this or handled exception if that doesn't work. And I think I'm going to save this and see what happens. Row, avoid untrusted escaped variables in DML query. I got all sorts of issues going on here. All right. No such property caching. Yes, it is. Is it? Let's look at this. Let's look at our, we're going to go to default classes. We'll find one of the providers there. Apex types controller. That shouldn't like it should be cacheable. My bad. Cacheable. There we go. Oh, it is missing a return statement. So now we're going to come down here and we're going to say return output. And that's not going to be a string, so we need to change this to be a list of string. And then let's see here, method does not exist, or from the type string, doesn't it? Escape single quotes. How are we doing on time? We got 13 minutes left. What do you mean no result? Apex string escape single quotes. Hi, Rohit. Yeah, I just got that, Amir. Let's see. Oh, we got a Stack Exchange question. String dot escape single quotes with a value. That's what I'm using. String dot escape single quotes void. It's not void. Do. That's weird. So method does not exist or void escape single quotes list string from the type string. Oh. You're right, because it doesn't accept a list. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a private helper method. Private static. Doesn't need to be static. Yes, it does. Static. We'll do string generate field list. We'll do string fields. You silly goose. It's not. This isn't Java. There's no such thing as a string builder. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do for. We'll do string field in fields like that, and what we'll do is we'll say field is equal to string dot escape single quote field, and now what we can do is we can we'll do string results equals like that, and what we'll do is we'll say results is plus equal to field plus like that, and then we need to return the substring, but not the length of -2, but the length -1. We want to get rid of the final. No, it is the final 2. I forgot we have a space there. I love it when GitHub Copilot is smarter than I am. So we're going to do generate fields list, and then up here, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this. Refactoring is fun. We'll do get fields list of fields, and put that there. Okay, we fixed that one. Avoid untrusted variables in DML query. Let's just save this and see if so pick list would have the same key and label. It would if you were going to use a multi-select pick list. That is true. Okay, let's see here. Unable to find custom metadata wire. That's because it hasn't saved this yet. Variable does not exist. Result on line 20. What do you mean it doesn't? Oh, because this is failing. Okay. I think I need to do .type. Or is it class? Maybe class. Let's see if anything's on line 16. .type, it's class. I think let's look at our type class here, and we've got our class property. Yeah, the system.type. There we go. That's what I want. And then we're going to do metadata type dot class. Invalid type metadata type dot class. 16. Well, metadata type is a type class, and we should have the class variable. Apex dynamically create list of objects from string. Dynamic string to create an instance of a class. Okay. Type T for name, process. Yep. List process. Instance. You can pass the type you want. No, I want a list. Dynamic object creation. SFDC stuff. That's interesting. Type name is contact. We're going to grab the type name. And we can grab the object token. Hi, Pradeep. And then we could put object token.new object. No, let's see. Instantiate an Apex class based on dynamic string name. That's what I'm doing. It's just it's not. So we're doing type for name, social context, social type, and we're doing type for name, custom metadata type. And then he's getting a new instance because it's not typed. That's if you want to work with an interface class. Dynamic Apex. Dynamic dependent list. I feel like I've done this before. Let's look in Apex recipes. Apex recipes. And we're going to go into force app. Main. Classes. And then we're going to look at collection recipes. And we're going to have a collection utils class, and this is where I did that. Dynamic type is type for name. Oh, we just put it in the list there. Haha. Okay, so we can do type for name list, list object type. Okay, so we're going to do type for name list. I love it when I can cheat. Alright, so metadata type is our list there, and we're going to do metadata type new instance let's do metadata type.class results equals new metadata type, new instance, and then I'll do results equals that. See if that saves. Yeah, Nakua, we're doing story as in a Scrum story, although I realize this one is a little bit big. So we're trying to break it down a little bit. Failed. Invalid type, metadata.type, metadata type.class. How did I do that here? It's because I'm casting up from a concrete S-object type to a generic S-object list. Naku, there's no such thing as a bad question. And yeah, I'm glad you're here. Where are you from? Okay, so database query can return a list of generic S objects, and I guess that's all we need. I'm making this too complicated. We're just going to do it this way. Go me. Okay, we're going to get rid of all of this. We're going to do list S object Now we're going to do s-object. We're going to do s-object result in results. And we're going to do get label. That should be better. Hi from Poland. I'm from Indiana. That's because it's got to be a string. And we'll do this one. This is void untrusted escaped variables in SUCL. Well, that's what we're doing with our... I think that doesn't matter here. Okay, so I've got 1 minute left here. Hey VPana, I'm a complete noob sometimes too. How should you start your coding journey? My answer to that one is always find a problem that you're interested in and then learn to solve it using whatever programming language you choose. So pick a programming language. And the thing is, the ecosystems out there are so vast, you can just pick one and then try to start figuring out how to solve your problem with it. I am going to encourage you to try to solve it on the Salesforce platform, but if you want to choose just vanilla JavaScript, you can do that as well. With that said, it is time for me to wrap up. Thank you all for tuning in. It's good chatting with you, Ross, and with the rest of you, and we will pick this up next week.